Right.
But it's
Okay.
the main thing is to build trust among members of a time bank.
Right.
So,
Right.
question I would have is, what's the best way to build trust? And I
Just
think meeting each other.
see each other and talk to each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's the other tools are helpful at times, um, and they also take a lot of work. If you do recommendations, then you have to contact the person that's making the recommendation. If you
Right.
do background checks, you have to connect with the authorities, and that is often a lot of work. And sometimes it's useful to do that. But I think we've discovered that in orientations, if people learn about time banking, the software is easy to learn, but it's to understand the difference between the currency of time dollars, time
Uh-huh.
credits, and the difference
Uh-huh.
between that and the federal currency of your country.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
Let,
because people think in money. We all know how to think in money, right?
right.
So money, I go to the store, I buy what I want to buy, and that's the end of the transaction.
Right.
And yes, I'm nice to the person during the transaction, but that doesn't mean anything going on. And it's
Uh-huh.
also, if I uh, need some money, I go to a bank and then I get in
Uh-huh.
debt. And
Uh-huh.
I get in debt, I have to pay maybe interest or I have to pay some fees. Oh, I
Right.
want to get out of debt.
Right.
Well, time banking is a totally different currency. First of
Yes.
all, nobody can spend or earn more than 24 hours a day.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And some of that time, each person usually sleeps, so it's even
Right.
less. So you
Right.
cannot speculate the way you can
Uh.
with dollars or with dinar or with ever.
Uh-huh.
And the other factor is that my working time of 1 hour has the
Uh-huh.
same value as anybody else's time. It's based
Right.
upon time. And we cannot say, oh, I want this done quickly. I'll give you 3 hours for your 1 hour of work. No, that's not an
Uh-huh.
acceptable policy. It's 1 hour
Yes.
for 1 hour of work.
One credit. Right.
The other thing is that if you go into minus in the time banking,
Uh-huh.
um, what does that mean? Well, it doesn't mean to be afraid and I have to pay it back.
Uh-huh.
If I am in minus, it means, and you can't see me now, but I'm stretching my arms out. It
Mm-hmm.
means the community is giving you a hug. The
Mm-hmm.
community is showing you love.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sometimes I'm minus and sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I'm positive in my
Mm-hmm.
balance, but that does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that matters is I'm exchanging with people.
Uh-huh. So in
The
this case,
Yes,
assume that I am in minus.
yeah.
Then I cannot really get any services out of the bank
Of
unless
course
I
you
fill in my account, right?
Oh, you can. You can. When I first started at the time bank that I'm at now,
Uh-huh.
nobody was interested in the services, but I needed some services. So
Uh-huh.
all of a sudden, within a few weeks, I was 20 hours in minus.
Uh-huh.
And they said, don't worry, now
Okay.
I'm many hours in plus. Over time,
Uh-huh.
it will change. I can
Uh-huh.
use it even if I'm in minus.
Uh-huh.
It's good not to get in hundreds and hundreds of hours in minus,
Right.
but then we talk about it.
Uh.
But it's
Um,
a problem to go minus in my account.
Let me take. I'm all the time thinks about how time banks work. Let me just share with you this case.
Yes,
Assuming that a lecturer want to give a lecture to 10 of students,
yes,
to 10 of so, and it is a 2 hours lecture. So the
yes,
lecturer will get 2 hours, right?
yes.
And should we draft out from the students each one 2 hours or what? How in this case?
Aha. This is called a one-to-many exchange. One person
Yeah,
is doing something for many people.
right. Uh-huh.
The lecturer also needs some preparation time, right?
Right.
So add to the 2 hours of the actual lecture, let's say 3 hours of preparation time.
Right.
And maybe after the lecturer has contact with the students to follow up. Let's
Right.
say another hour. So
Right.
that's 2 hours lectures, three preparation, that's five, six, a total of 6 hours. It was the lecturer did work.
Right.
Now, uh, let's say 20 students came to that, and they
Okay.
each pay 2 hours because
Right.
they're taking in 2 hours, they're receiving a service for 2 hours.
Uh-huh.
Okay, 20 students times 2 hours, that's 40 hours.
Right.
there's a difference between the 6 hours that the lecturer worked and the 40 hours that the student is paying.
Okay.
In the software, what happens is then the students pay the 40 hours, each 2 hours. The lecturer receives 6 hours, and the difference goes into a community fund.
Okay.
The community fund can be used as the time bank desires.
Right.
Maybe somebody is very sick and can for some time not do anything. They just need a lot of services. It can come from the community fund. Maybe somebody earns a lot of hours because they were doing a lot of things. They are joyful about doing them. They can donate to the community fund.
Good. And
now, the other way around. Yes, go ahead. Your question?
Yeah, assuming that we want to invite you to Jordan to help us with setting up the system.
Yes.
And we have a USAID, you probably heard about it in Jordan, and it's very, very active.
Yes.
We have a new program called LENS. It is for innovative ideas.
Yes.
And for Jordan and for the whole Middle East, this is an innovative idea. There are no time bank in the whole region. The concept of time bank is not really popular. So we are the first to initiate a time bank.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you very much. We can go for the time bank, and at the same time, we can set up a network for Arab Time Bank, where every country in the region be part of this network, and we will transfer this knowledge to the 2022 Arab states, or 23 even, including Israel. They don't have a time bank. So how can we? Can you coordinate with us in order to formalize the proposal to access the LENS USAID program? Because the chance is very great that they will accept it as a very innovative idea, and we are untapping a lot of possibilities that are not foreseen through the traditional way of helping building a community.
Right.
And besides, there are many goods that cannot be bought through money. You cannot buy self-esteem by money. You cannot buy a lot of things by money. But through this mechanism, through this mechanism, you can really revive the self-esteem of people. It's very bad when you accept, but it's okay when you give and accept. It's very good for your self-esteem. So we are in the process within days of accessing USAID Jordan to help us with this innovative idea. And we would like to ask for your help. How can you approach you by name or approach USA Time Bank USA? Can we exchange emails in order to finalize the proposal together?
Definitely. There's not only myself, but there are several other people involved. I am coordinating the technical part, but I'm also involved in other aspects of it. We are in the office as a group of maybe 4 or 5 people, and we would be very happy to help you with such an endeavor.
Great. Then we will ask for a team from Time Bank USA to help us and to look over how we are doing and to make sure that we are doing it right, so that we will transfer this experience to another countries in the regions. And we are already started discussing this, transfer it to other countries.
Fantastic. Did you ever hear of the term core economy?
Yes, I do. I'm a US graduate. USC graduate.
What core economy is something that's relatively new. How do you understand core economy?
I think core economy, it is part of the economy that's not been used or not been seen through the traditional way of looking at the economy. This time bank is one of the part of making benefit out of the core economy. Core economy, it's an economy that is not foreseen for many hundreds of years. With the concept of the time bank, you are utilizing core economy to strengthen and revive communities.
You are so right. Many people here in the United States do not know what the core economy is. They think of economy only in dollars. And or in euros if it's Europe or whatever, and they don't, realize that the core economy is even more important. The dollar economy would not work if the core economy did not function. And
Exactly.
the core
Exactly.
economy, like training children to be adults, training children in
Yes.
everything,
Yes.
helping older people, working with older people,
Yes.
all the
Yes.
things that are not paid for in dollars. And you mentioned self-esteem, and that is so important. So
Yes.
many times people say, "Oh, this is a great idea, but I don't have any skills."
Mm-hmm.
And I think to myself, no, that's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has skills. And
Mm-hmm.
what people are thinking in their mind is, I am not paid for any skill in dollars, and therefore I have no skills.
Uh-huh.
And
Good. Mm-hmm.
that is one of the paradigms that we want to help shift with the idea of time banking.
Mm-hmm.
That have you read the book No Throwaway People?
I know about it, but I could not really read it because it's not available in the region. I know I read about Edgar Khan a lot,
Uh-huh.
and
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yes. Well, I'm sure we can get a copy to you if you're interested.
very interested, very,
And
very interested.
that is where he talks about co-production. Do you ever hear of co-production?
Yeah, yes, yes, yes.
You are so knowledgeable.
No,
Uh,
no, not that much. But I read a review about the book, a lot of reviews about the book,
uh-huh.
and excerpt from the book also. I had chance to look through it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
the most important things here. Let me summarize what you already said. You said that the software or the application, you don't need to translate it because you can pick up the language that you would like to use. This is number
no,
one.
no. It
Ah,
needs to be translated. It needs to
it
be
needs.
translated.
Uh-huh.
We have the possibility built in to translate in any language, but it
Uh-huh.
is not yet translated.
Uh-huh.
That is a task that needs to be done.
This is need to be done through my colleagues, through our programmer, or you will do it back in the
No,
States.
needs to be done by somebody who understands time banking
Yes.
and who also understands the programming. And
Good.
not the programming, but the program itself, how it works. So first you
Uh-huh.
need to learn the program, and then you can help
Uh-huh.
with the translation, or at the same
Uh-huh.
time.
Uh-huh.
And we do not have skills in the language of Arabic.
Okay. We will teach you. And, and
Oh,
number and number one, we really need your help. So we will access USAID, the program lens, which I already said it is a program launched program that help people with creative ideas, and this is a very creative ideas. So we will draft out the proposal and send it for you to comment in it, because the bottom line, we want to invite some technicians from Time Bank USA to help and supervise what we are doing, because the setup is very, very important. If we set up the bank correctly, it works. But if
yes.
we do not really grasp the concept and
Hmm.
firm it down, I think we will have troubles. And I don't know any of my colleagues hear me or not, because we have a couple of programmers and we have an IT expert. Ahmed, do you hear me? Ahmed Spinati.
Yes.
Ahmed Spinati.
Yes. I don't hear him.
Neither me. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, we are recording. Is it okay with you? Somebody is recording our call. Is it okay with you?
Yes, it is.
Some of our technical teams. We have an IT expert. We have two programmers, and we have the dean of the computer science at one of Jordan University, and me. We are four people who are
Uh-huh.
really sharing, and we have an engineer lady who is, I think, civil engineer.
Uh-huh.
Those five people are hearing the conversation, or they will have access to the recorded conversations. Later on, we will sit down and hear again the conversation with you.
Right.
What advice do you give us? We are very enthusiastic. People very enthusiastic.
Uh,
We found that the Jordanian people are very hungry for voluntary works, extremely hungry.
yeah.
The professors, company owners, former ministers, uh, doctors, lots of doctors who want to offer their help, lots of doctors,
Um,
and some donators, lot of people who are offering things that we never hear about, new
Wonderful,
things, new helps. You know, there are
wonderful.
many new services pop up in our idea, in our in front of our eyes. We never think of it,
Right.
and so there is a buy-in for the idea, extremely strong buy-in for the idea.
I have
So yes,
observed one thing. I do
yes,
not know really anything about your culture in Jordan. I, I have worked in many different countries, but I have not worked in Arab countries or in the Middle East. So I
okay.
don't know your culture. So what I'm saying may or may not apply to your situation.
No,
But
say,
what
but
we have discovered,
at the end, we are all human beings. You know, we share a lot of things.
we definitely do, but still we have different ways of working sometimes.
Okay.
And I have noticed in Western culture that people are often very willing to volunteer. And when
Mm-hmm.
we have an orientation for a time bank, sometimes we say, well, how many people are willing to help with this or help with that? And almost everybody's hand goes up.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ask the question, well, how many of you have some needs where you need some help from others?
Mm-hmm.
And almost nobody raises their hand. And we say, no,
They
wait a
say.
minute. Wait a
Mm-hmm.
minute. We say to the people, well, how is this time banking going to work if everybody wants to give a service and nobody wants
Uh-huh.
to receive a service?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
hadn't thought about it like that. So we've
Uh-huh.
noticed in Western society that people are very eager to give, but there's
Uh-huh.
also a very strong feeling of, well, I'm independent. I can do everything for myself. I don't need any help.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And that is a problem of understanding. And I don't know if anything like that is in your culture, but with we have learned that in the orientation, we have to speak a lot to this issue. We have
Uh-huh.
to help people understand, yes, I can ask for help
Mm-hmm.
and I have some time, I can pay for it with time where I can give a person credit and
Mm-hmm.
they receive that from me. And it makes it easier to give and receive services if you can
Mm-hmm.
also give and receive the time credits.
Mm-hmm. So in this case, we thought, as a matter of fact, we launched the group at the Facebook to test it for almost 4 days. We received too many people who want to give help, but
Yes,
we received only 3 cases for people who wants help. So we thought that this is the case in Jordan. It seems that it is an international case that people are ready to give, but no one really wants to
yes,
take back.
right.
Yeah, yeah,
This
we
is
noticed that.
why we do not call it volunteering
Mhm.
because volunteering is, oh, I give help.
No, it's not volunteering. It's a two-way.
Right, exactly.
It's
But people
uh,
often think of it as volunteering. And so
mhm,
we try to stay away from the word volunteering and say we're
mhm.
sharing services with each other. We're
We are sharing
giving and
service.
receiving.
Mhm.
And because volunteering, everybody knows what that is. But this is
Right.
something different. It requires a rethinking of relationships.
Uh-huh.
So that's one of the things that we've noticed, that it takes time for people to understand that. Another thing is then you have some people looking for something and cannot find the service they want.
Right.
And you cannot always expect to find immediately whatever
Uh-huh.
need you have.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So those are things that it's important to talk through this. How is this actually different
Uh-huh.
from the dollar or the dinar or what's your
Yeah.
currency in Jordan?
You are right, Dinar.
Dinar. I thought so.
Yes.
How
Yeah.
is it different from the dinar currency? How do we have to think differently when we use this currency?
Uh-huh.
That is one of the biggest, I would say, challenges. The
Yes.
software is not a challenge. Software can be developed to do almost anything you want. But
Uh-huh.
the challenge is learning new habits and learning new relationships.
Yes.
And so it's important to have good software team, very much so. But I would say even more important than that, I mean, you
Uh-huh.
can start time banking just using paper.
Yeah, you
And
can. You
in
can.
fact, the course we have gathering with a purpose has
Uh-huh.
people in a 4 evening session. They start time banking just with paper, just to get a
Yes.
feel for it
Yeah.
and to understand the concept. And
Hmm.
then using the software is just a tool to record
Hmm.
things
Yeah,
and
it's
make
just a
it
tool.
easier. But if people don't understand the concept, um,
Yeah.
uh, now we discovered also in orientations, people say, "Oh, I'm excited, I'll sign up," and da da da, and then nothing
Hmm.
happens.
Mm,
If
yeah,
in
you're
the
right.
face-to-face orientation, we
Hmm.
request strongly that everybody submit at least one offer and
Hmm.
one request into the software, do it themselves,
Hmm.
those are the people that are going to continue using it. Those are the people that are going to continue because they've done something already. If they
Yes.
just click the join button and sign up, you can get a lot of people doing that. But to
Yeah.
take the next step and get involved takes people to people contact.
Yeah, you're right.
That's
So,
another thing we learned.
Eric,
Yes.
can you provide us by email where can you help us so we will cut it and paste it into the proposal that you want to submit to the USAID?
Yes, I can do a quick summary of that.
Great, great.
Uh, you
Uh,
had another question that I didn't finish answering,
Please go ahead. Sorry,
and that
sorry.
was the question about how does it actually work when somebody writes up an offer or a request.
Uh-huh.
And in the software, people can post an offer, post a request. There are categories which you can change and edit yourselves, and then they are listed there. And all members can see all of the lists, all the categories and all the offers and all the requests, and they can use filters and search functions to find the things that they're interested in.
Uh-huh.
When somebody puts in a new offer or a new request, once a week, a mail goes, an email notifies all members of the update, the changes to what has happened. You can
Uh-huh.
also change your frequency and say, I want to get it every day or every hour. But when there are changes like that, it is sent out to the members. So they realize, oh, here's something new. And
Mm-hmm.
then it's up to the member to go into the software or to click on the link in the email and say, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I want to have this exchange with the other person and to write a message to the other person and organize the exchange.
Mm-hmm.
The coordinators do not have to be involved in that. They can, of
Mm-hmm.
course, help if the coordinator sees, well, here's somebody that wants to give this service and somebody else wants to receive the same service and they didn't notice each other. The coordinators can help to link them or can help people with the software. So it's
Ah.
sort of self-run that the people who are members can make the exchanges, and when they've made an exchange with each other, they go back into the software and record the exchange. On this
Uh-huh.
day, we did service for each other. I received the service, so I'm giving you hours. You provided the service, so you receive the hours from me. That can be
And
all done without the coordinators intervening.
yeah. So assuming that I give a service for 2 hours, and who will register the hours? Me or the recipient of the service or the coordinator or how?
You have the ability to do that. The other partner can also do it. And if necessary, the coordinator can also do it. You must agree who's going to do that. Usually we say the person providing the service enters it, but it doesn't really matter. If I provided the service, if I record the exchange, the other person who's a partner to the exchange will get a notification saying, oh, Eric recorded this exchange with you for these many hours, as sort of a confirmation that it was done.
Without a confirmation of the recipient, the hours will not go into the account of the provider.
Oh, yes, they will go immediately. It's just the recipient is notified so that if there's a misunderstanding, they can contact each other and clarify that.
Oh, okay, good. So I thought if someone enter a number of hours, a wrong number of hours, or if someone, he's not honest enough and he entered number of hours which is not right, so the recipient will notify him.
It will automatically, the other person will automatically get an email, and the other person can then say, okay, I don't have to respond because that's correct. Or wait a minute, that was a mistake. And I connect to the other person, and both people can edit this exchange. Both people who are partners in the exchange can edit it. So
And this will go
yes,
ahead.
I have a question.
This will happen through the software.
Yes, through the software. Now the coordinator has the possibility of going in and making any changes himself or herself. That's always a possibility, but it's set up so that the members can run it themselves.
How long it takes to understand the application and to use it fully?
For the members, it does not take much time. It depends also how how much a person is used to using a computer. If they've never used a computer before, it's more difficult because they don't know how a computer works. It
Yes.
also is responsive to mobile phones, so you can use a mobile phone or a tablet or other mobile device to use the software also. For coordinators, because there are many more options for coordinators to be involved in. They can change the colors of the site, they can change the font, they can logo, they can do all sorts of things. They need to set up the notifications if they want to add comments to them. There are basic
Uh-huh.
templates there, but they can change the templates. The software also can be used for recording payments and donations from members. That's an
Uh-huh.
additional feature which is there if the coordinators want to turn it on. It's normally
Uh-huh.
not turned on. So there's a lot of things that coordinators can do, and that takes a bit of learning. But for the members, it's actually quite easy.
Eric, why don't you have a mobile application of the software?
Um, One is a cost factor, and what we do have, it responds to the mobile device, so you can use
Uh-huh.
it almost completely as a mobile application.
You can use it.
Yeah. Oh,
Another. Mm, Go
you
ahead.
can
Go
use
ahead.
it on any mobile phone, any smartphone, any tablet. It will respond to the device.
We notice that some people ask us for help, for financial help, or for some kind of help. Should we accept this kind, or we want to stick it into give and take?
I'm not sure. People are asking you for financial help for what?
Poor people
Uh-huh.
ask us to help them. Should we practice with this, or leave the bank only for people who can give and people who want to take back?
Well, in the time banking, it's important that everybody participates, both giving and receiving.
Yes.
And no matter how much money anybody has in money, they have 24 hours a day, and they can do a service for somebody. They can receive a service.
Yes.
I do not know about your banking and financial laws in Jordan. In the United States and in most countries, uh, it would cause the financial
Tax.
officers in the United States, the tax office, they would
Yeah.
become very interested if the time credits were equal to dollars or to any other federal currency.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So then they would say, for example, there's something called barter, which I'm sure you're aware of,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That means I have a cow or something like that, and I give it to you, and you give me, I don't know, 50 sacks of grain or something or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
exchanging a value with you. In the United States, that is taxable.
Uh-huh.
I have to report that to the tax office, and if I have a profit in that exchange, that profit is taxable.
Taxable.
Time
Yeah.
banking is not, we do not have to report it to the tax office in the United States, but this varies from country to country. So I don't know how
Yeah.
your tax office, what laws in Jordan would apply to this or not, but we make sure that all of the exchanges are for time credits and there's no connection to dollars.
Yeah.
Now, for example,
I.
if somebody says, well, I'll drive you to the airport,
Yes.
but I need to have some gas, some money to cover the gasoline.
Uh-huh.
Okay, the time the person takes to go from their house to my house, to pick up my wife and myself, to drive us to the airport, and for them to drive back to their own house, that's the time that we record in the exchange in the time bank.
Uh-huh.
And if I agree with the person beforehand, yes, I will give you some money to cover the gasoline, then I just give that person that money. That does not go through the time bank.
Uh-huh.
Or if somebody, one woman, she was retired, she hated cooking, and she found people who would cook for her. They'd cook
Yes.
10 meals, and for 3 years she did not have to cook a single meal for herself. She was
Uh-huh.
doing other things. She was a chemist. She did mentoring in chemistry for kids. She did
Yeah.
quilting. She did all sorts of things.
Yeah.
So, but she paid for the ingredients for the food. The person
Uh-huh.
spent so many hours making the food, and she paid for the ingredients. But the payment
Yes.
for the ingredients did not go through the time bank.
Yes.
It's important to agree before you make the exchange. How much time do you think you're going to use for this? Do I agree with that? Just like when you're making when you go to a store and you have to talk about, well, how much does this cost? Or you're at the marketplace, you discuss before you make the exchange what the exchange is about and how much value it has. You do the same with the hours and what the job is, what the task is, what's going to be done. And then once you have
The
that agreement, then you can do it and record it. So that talking and agreeing to those things is so important to do that in advance.
okay.
So
Uh-huh.
no dollars in our system goes to the time bank, and you cannot take your hours and use it to buy something for dollars.
Uh-huh.
Now,
Yeah.
somebody says, well, I have an extra room in my house. I'd like
Uh-huh.
to rent it to a visitor for time dollars. How does that work? Well, we say, well, how much time do you need to prepare that room, to get the bedclothes ready, to clean it up, and how much time do you need when the person is there visiting to take care of their needs in the room, and how much time do you need afterwards to clean it? That's the time that you get through the time bank, and that's the
Uh,
time credits that the person using the room has to pay.
uh-huh. Yeah.
um, so it's not dollar for time credits, because in the United States that would be taxable. What is
Uh,
the situation in Jordan? What does the tax office there say?
I think we have the tax system that's the same as in the States. I think
uh,
we have the same tax system as in the States. And I think we should.
it's important to clarify that before you
Yeah.
start in a
We
big way,
we
so you
we
do
will.
not make mistakes in advance.
Yeah, we will check out. We will check it with the taxation department. We will find out about this.
Yeah.
But I
Now,
think we have the same system as the USA.
in the United States, there's not a final decision about time banking. There has not been a nationwide decision. There have been some decisions made by some local tax officers, but it's very clear they write that this is not a precedent that can't be used in other areas. So in the United States, it's still a little bit in limbo. We know that bartering is taxable. We do not
Uh-huh.
know 100% that time banking will not be taxable at some time in the future. We don't know that. At the moment, the tax office looks at it like neighbors helping neighbors. Like if a neighbor
Yes.
comes over and helps me to pull out a stump of a tree, or to build a fence, or to do whatever, repair my house, that's not taxable in the United States.
Uh-huh.
And so they look at it sort of like this: it's neighbors helping neighbors.
Yes.
And the number of hours that I have on my account, I can't demand that I get value for that, which is
Uh-huh.
another sign for the tax department, at least, that it's not taxable. But each country has small variations which are important to look at.
We note that many people want to help, but they don't want their time to be recorded. They just want to volunteer. Actually, should
Yes.
we should we accept?
Um, that is also an issue here in the United States, because people say, "Oh, I'm now become a friend with this person. Why should I record the time?" And I understand that. At the same time, if the time bank doesn't see any activity, it can't use that and say, well, look, there's so much things happening here. We need to get some funding to pay for our coordinators. We need to get some funding for this. Um, if they don't have a record of what's going on, then it's difficult to get funding sometimes. Also, If I put my offers and if I put my requests into the time bank, then other people can see them and can use them. If I just do it on the telephone between friends, it's not part of the bigger community.
Uh-huh.
So it's we encourage people to put everything in the time bank, and we know that some people don't.
Yes. Uh-huh. And should we record the time of the services that's being given from people who don't want their time to be credited?
Well, you can't really force somebody to do that, can you? Um,
No.
but I think it's very important to encourage people to do that and to share why. And if somebody has no computer experience or no computer, then we set up a time bank buddy or a mentor to help that person or to do it for them, uh, so that they if they don't have that experience or knowledge to do it, or maybe they physically can't, or maybe they have no internet connection or a poor internet connection. We have time banks and set up other people who do that work for them. That's a service which
And
can get hours for.
another question, Eric. Do you recommend us to start small or what? How many members do you think we should start with?
We observe that time banks often start with 10, 20, 50 members. It's important that people understand time banking. So I would
Yes.
not say you have to start small, but I would say it's important that the people who are starting are well informed and understand what they're getting into. If you have 50 people or 100 people or 200 or 1,000, and people are thinking, oh, this is just a record of volunteers, and it's not reciprocal, if they don't understand those concepts, it will not develop in perhaps the way you want it to develop.
As a matter of fact, we registered the Time Bank as a non-profit company. We have such kind of things. It's
Right.
called non-profit company that we have a tax exempt.
Yes.
This is step number one. Step number two, we noticed that the access to the Facebook group is very huge. We have almost 2,200 people. Assuming that 50% of those people want to register, should we say no? We just want to start with 50 people and then we will spread out, roll out?
Um, it might be good to start in one region or in one city and say, well, we're starting here first, and then we grow bit by bit and have orientation meetings. Um, that might be a good idea. I don't know who all has joined and what their interests are and so on, but I've always noticed that things that grow very, very, very fast sometimes uh, go in strange ways, and it's good to have a sort of a sustainable growth. Or
Yes.
you might say two cities. We start in two different cities, and we try starting at the same time in two different cities. If people are just connecting up, like in Facebook, there are some time bank softwares that are written sort of similar to Facebook, where they have no personal connection. You don't have to go to an orientation. You just connect and you're there. They do not help the growth of community that much. So the question is, what is your goal as far as helping people to relate to each other face to face? Is that
Yeah.
important?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the people who initiated this the Time Bank, we live in Amman, which is the capital of Jordan.
Right.
And the problem is that almost 60% of people in Jordan lives in Amman, in the capital.
Right.
It is a developed country,
Yeah.
So the center really have it all. So
Yes.
how about asking for reference? Anyone to apply for the Time Bank should be referred by a member of the board. How about this idea? So that he will come and we'll see him and talk to him.
The way the time banks use references, you want to have somebody who knows that person already to be the reference. But also it's good to meet in person. Almost all time banks that are really running very actively and successfully as a community time bank have orientations or gatherings where they work together in a face-to-face way, especially at the
Before
beginning.
before they apply to the bank,
No,
or
part of
after
the
the.
part of the application process, part of the process. They have to
So
first.
when you so let's just grasp your idea. When somebody will apply, we will wait for a week and ask all those people who applied to join a meeting, an introductory meeting somewhere, and we have a 1 hour discussion with them. Will this work? And
That is
after
some.
this,
Yes,
go ahead.
yes. That sounds very good.
Yeah. So anybody apply, it's fine, and
Yeah,
we will set up a date that all applicants will be asked to join the board in a meeting somewhere somewhere for a 1 hour, where in a discussion with a free discussion. From the discussions, we can figure out who really can be applied and who else needs time to be part of this new idea. I
that
think
is a possibility.
this sounds
Yes,
good, I think.
yes.
So we will roll in people step by step. Only people who really grasp the idea and who are really very excited and want to be part of it will join us at the beginning.
That's one way to go. Yes, and you can
Yeah,
also set up. The software allows you to assign.
yeah. Hello. Hello.